Hey guys, okay, so what I want to do today is I want to start on looking at a basic project that will help us to build the walls or the perimeter walls of a property. And if you remember in the last lesson we looked at these basic floor plans, and at the moment we're just going to look at the floor one. We don't need to see the elevation right now, but we're going to build these exterior walls, so it'll be this one round here, round the garage, and then all the way round the back, and we're going to do this in sections. I had a long think about this and I thought, should I do it all in one go? The problem of course is that it might be a little difficult to keep up and a little bit too much information, and listening to my voice for too long might send you to sleep. So maybe it's better that we do it in short blocks, short sections, and then that way you can follow along much more easily and take a break when you feel like it. So let's start with that. Now the first thing I would do when I'm creating a project is first of all to make sure that my scene is set up correctly, and I need to make sure that I have the correct units and the correct spacing, I guess, in the grid, so that I can easily measure things and I can easily see if I'm making a mistake somewhere. So first of all, let's take a look at this, right? When you open this software, I'm using Autodesk Maya 2016. I'm using it on a Mac, but there's also a PC version if you're using Windows. But when you first open it, you'll be hit with this screen and just a grid. I'm going to assume that most of you have used Maya before. This isn't a complete beginner course. It's just I'm assuming that you know the basics of navigating around the scene, and you're able to create basic primitives, etc., etc. Okay, so when you first open it, of course, you'll be hit with this grid, and the grid probably looks a little different to the one that you see in front of me because I've kind of customized it a little bit. Now, the first thing I need to do is go into my preferences. I need to make sure that I have my units set correctly. So in your preferences, if you go to settings, you will see these working units, and here you can see I've got it set to centimeters. I could set it to millimeters, meters, inch, foot, yard, depending on what unit system you're working in. I prefer to work in centimeters. It works better for me, but if you want to use a different one, that's also just fine. Okay. Here I don't need to save, it was already set to this, so I'll just cancel. Once I've done this, I will prepare my grid, and the way to do that is just to go to display, go into grid, and then this little option box here, which will open another window and give you all of the perimeters for this for the grid. Okay, and the first part is this length and width. Now, what does this mean? Well, it's quite simple. It's got here 2,500, and it means 2,500 centimeters. Now, this goes from the axes, which is right here in the center. You can see these thicker black lines. I hope you can see them. And the little point here is the axes. And then when you go all the way out here, that would actually be 2,500 centimeters. Okay, and the same in the Z as well. Also, we've got this one here which says grid lines every 100 centimeters. So the grid line in this case, you can see, is the yellow line, and you can change the color of this in here. I chose yellow, but you can choose any color that you want. Also, I can set the subdivision lines, and I can also set the axes. Now, let's go back to this a moment. These grid lines every 100 units, so that's every meter basically, every 100 centimeters. So every time you see a yellow line, that's 1 meter. So 1 meter, 2 meter, 3 meter, 4 meter, etc. Within that, I also created some subdivisions, and I've created 10. The reason for that is that every 10 centimeters, I'll get a little grid line. So this is 10 centimeters, 20 centimeters, 30 centimeters, etc., all the way up to 1 meter. You may want to have more than that in there if you're working in centimeters every centimeter you might want to line. But I find that when I'm working on a larger project, such as a building, using these lines every centimeter might be a little bit overkill and might be difficult to follow. So this works best for me. You're welcome to use the same scale. If you have something that you prefer to use, go ahead with that. It makes really no difference. But just use whatever you're most comfortable with. So as always, if you have any questions about what we've just discussed, please leave them in the comments and I'll be sure to answer them. Have a great day, guys.